Gary obviously had a couple of days now to reflect on Tuesday night's performance. Looking back on it, how do you feel it went as a match?
Well, of course, you're always disappointed when you lose, but the match was a very percentage-based game where Ipswich, I suppose, showed that their game at the moment, their away game especially, is very much a percentage game where they go long and play the percentages and then pick up the bits from that. Unfortunately, we then had to go long to get back up the other end, and they probably played it, especially in the first half, better than us, and then they got their goal because of their sequence of corners. And then in the second half, I thought we had a little bit more movement, a little bit more opportunity, although we did have a couple of chances in the first half, but we probably had 3 or 4 in the second half. And then, just how your luck is, just when you needed that 94th minute goal to go in, we hit the post, sort of thing, from a great bit of play. So disappointing that we got beat, and that we couldn't quite get our game going, but Ipswich spoiled it a little bit as well with the way they were playing. So because they are a strong side, they've got 2 strong centre halves. They know their game, they get it forward, they get it in the channel, they get support, then they try and get their crosses in and set plays. So it was a bit scrappy, but that's how the game went, and what it means is that we've now got to concentrate for our next 3 or 4 games, because they're not easy ones, but none of them are.
I say it comes thick and fast. Now you don't really have much time to look back on these games, do you? Because just they keep coming.
Yeah, and when you sort of got a smallish squad, you really are having to manage your training. You've got to manage your days off. You've got to manage your travelling. We've got a bit of travelling to do now in the next few days. So you're just trying to put the boys out there as ready as they could possibly be. That will be in their physical prowess and in their mental state. So that's what we're trying to do at the moment. Now, it's a good job I've been around a little while, because I think I can help on those sort of things. Like, for instance, today, we felt that the boys needed to get in the gym, get in the pool, and make sure they have their legs for the weekend, because it's going to be a big game against QPR. QPR they've had a couple of defeats in the last few weeks, which they won't be happy with, and they're back at home, and they're going to want to try and run you ragged, and we've got to be ready.
That's what I was going to say. QPR, is this a good time to be going to Loftus Road, because they've been quite inconsistent recently?
Well, you never know. Ask me, at 5 o'clock on Saturday, and I'll tell you whether it was a good time or not. But they're a quality side. They are a quality side, and they were favourites right from the off to get promoted, and we mustn't think any less of them. We've got to make sure that they've got a couple of lads there, that can run a game, and some defenders that are international defenders. So, but we had a good game against them here, really good game, and it was very close, and we're trying to make sure that we keep it that close, even over at Loftus Road.
That was going to be my next question. How key is it to contain their more creative players? Because they've got so many of them. They've got pace and they've got creativity within the squad. How important is it that your team managed to contain that and keep the game relatively quiet from their perspective?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's 2 things. You have to contain them, but you have to cause them a problem. And maybe what we didn't do enough against Ipswich was create enough of a problem for them. We wasn't effective for long enough, just in short little bursts, sort of thing. So we got to make sure that we stop their best players playing, and be ready for any little bit of skill or ability that they may throw up. And then you've got to make sure that you make those players that are good on the ball chase you as well, and you've got to try and create problems for them. Because if you don't, and you just go there to park the bus, then their players are going to be good enough to break you down at some stage. So yes, you've got to defend when you haven't got it, but you've got to try and cause them a problem when you have.
Looking ahead to the game then, team news wise, I know Ishmael Miller's had a bit of a hamstring problem recently. How's he looking? Yeah,
he's looking okay. He's fine, and he got a little bit of cramp in the last game. It was his hamstring before that. His hamstring's recovered, so that's good. So it's not something that we can't manage, and we will be managing it, and I'm sure he'll be available for selection.
And away from that, any other team news? Is anyone else going to be missing this weekend, or is it looking quite good?
No, it's looking okay. Liam Davis obviously is longer term. He's not available, but everybody else, you have to keep an eye on a couple of them. There's a couple of dead legs and a couple of black eye and a cut eye and that sort of thing. But that's how it goes. But so we're just waiting for those to come through. But there's nobody else that we're thinking that won't be available. And
I know we chat to you about this quite a lot, but keep an eye out for loans and potential people coming into the club. Is there any more news on anybody potentially coming in? Are you still on the lookout?
Well, 4 of our loans at the moment are long term, which is great, and I think all of those have been significant signings for us, and they are Yeovilified now. They are part of us.
Yeovilified, I like that.
Exactly. And forgetting the dictionary now, I've used it enough times, haven't I? So, how many times you got to use it before it gets in the Oxford Dictionary?
I think you've done it.
Yeah, I've done it, okay. I digress here. What was the question?
Loanees, still on the lookout for some?
Yeah, we are. And the one loan that's sort of like a short-term loan is Dwayne, but we could make that longer maybe if Huddersfield want to do that. But so we are always on the lookout for that anyway. You can only use 5, so you've got to be careful. There might be, you can't have 10 loans, you're just wasting your money sort of thing. So, but maybe 6 at the most, so that you can rest somebody each time. But the 4 long-term loans won't want to be rested, that's for sure. And so we've got to be careful. But we are looking, yeah.
And my last one, I know I asked you at the start of the season this question, but do you have a points total in your head of an idea of where you think, right, we need to hit this? If we hit that, we should be okay.
Yeah, I've got one in my head. People say that 50 points is normally gets you safe. Well, this year probably get you halfway up the table, 50 points. But so I don't think it will take 50, but you've got to try and pick up as many points as possible. If I give the lads a target and we reach it and get relegated, they're going to have the right hump with me, sort of thing. So we got to just make sure that we win as many games as we can. And do you know what we got to do? We got to win one more game than the 3 teams around us. That's all we got to think about, and that's what we got to do. And then it doesn't sound half so daunting.
Okay. After the last match, you mentioned that you spoke to each player individually and told them whether you were happy or disappointed with them. I was just wondering how you do that, because I know with MPs, if they get called into a meeting, if they said something stupid in the press, they don't get coffee, and they kind of know they're in trouble then. Do you have a kind of way of telling the players when they've done badly?
Yeah, it's normally the look on my face, and they can pretty much work out what I'm going to be saying. They'll know what their instructions were for the game, and if they haven't produced it or I felt they've gone below their standard, then of course you have to tell them, and that sometimes it upsets them because they don't always agree. But the manager has to make those decisions, and you make them decisions at the time for the right reasons, and then you discuss it with the player afterwards. Of course, you have to say when they've done well as well, and many times this season they have done well at this level, so they know that it's not naughty boy stuff. Let me give you 3 swipes of the cane sort of thing, but it's one where you're appealing to them to say, look, listen, for whatever reason that wasn't good enough, and we need you to liven yourself up and put a few swear words in there, and it sounds all right.
Thank you.
With Dwayne, you obviously you've clearly got another couple of weeks with him, but is there a possibility then that Dwayne Holmes will stay for a bit longer if you want him to?
Well, I was, he had a real good start to his campaign, and he needs, like they all do, they then level out a little bit after the euphoria and the excitement of the early games. I think maybe Adam Morgan's pretty similar to that. John Lundstrom was. So, when it does start levelling out, that's at the time when I've got to drag them back up to where they sort of need to be. So he's got a couple of games left, so I won't make that decision until I've got to make that decision. Yeah. And I'll keep in touch with Mark Robbins, the Huddersfield manager, I'm letting him. I gave him a little pep talk to try and get him to beat Charlton last night. It didn't quite work, but and then we spoke about Dwayne like you do with everybody's loan players. You know, we tell them how they're doing, and then we work it from there. So we'll worry about that when after the Bolton game, because that's when his loan finishes.
Were you disappointed with John Lundstrom?
Going back?
Yeah.
Yes. You know, because you know anyone who's definitely a Premier League club, you would like, you know, they're going to have competition their whole career, sort of thing. You know, but I also understand, you know, when a lad hasn't played for a couple of weeks, you know, and he wants to play and he loves playing football. He's a football player, and you know, sometimes they decide that they don't particularly want to hang around for too long when there's games they could get back at Everton in the under 21. So, you know, we had a chat with I had a chat with Roberto Martinez, and we agreed mutually that he'd go back and get his games.
Was John Lundstrom Yeovilified?
I don't think he was. He had 16 games, you know, so he certainly had a few games. But I think the ones that are Yeovilified decide to stick it out and compete for a place and look to get. I won't say he wasn't, because I'm sure while he was out there he was. But it's when you get home and your mum and dad sort of say, "Not playing again this week, son," you know, that sort of thing. Then it becomes a bit difficult sometimes. And there are a lot of players out there that do like playing. There's a lot that don't like playing. We had this discussion last week, didn't we? And John's one that likes playing football, and some people don't like to train all week and then possibly not have something at the end of it. So we thank him for what he did for us, and but he's moved on, we've moved on, and we wish him well in his career at Everton.
Yeah. I would have just thought that for his own development it would probably been better here in the Championship rather than playing for the under-21s.
Well, yeah, but obviously, you know, people have made a different decision, sort of thing. I would have thought that as well, but that's not the case, and you know, we'll have to wait and see. It's all different situations for different people, isn't it? You know, it's been. You take Shane Duffy, for instance. All right. Now, let's say if Shane Duffy went back after a month for whatever reason, would he have been captain of his under-21s? Would he have had Martin O'Neill of the national team watching him play, you know, and have a great game against Sheffield Wednesday the other day? You know, I think it's really enhanced his career, helped him in his career, and I'm sure it has done with a couple of the others. But you know, does Martin O'Neill see him as an international player when he's still playing in the under-21s? All of a sudden, you're seeing him against Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds and Leicester and QPR. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now he can make a bit of a better judgment on him.
And just one final question, because we're told not to ask.
Hold to that, mate.
On Tuesday, obviously, Keith was shot right at the end. I know back along you said that he's got the hardest shot in the club.
Yeah.
Do you think he hit it too hard?
Yeah, if he miss-hits it, it goes in, but you can't tell people.
And hit it too true.
These are the small margins, aren't they? You know, you're that far away from, okay, you know, whether it's deserved the 1-0 win or not. I don't think they could have complained with a 1-1 the way the second half went. You know, we had quite a bit of play up there, and you're that far away from 1 point, sort of thing, and at least carrying on your non-losing run, as it were. But he does catch it. He catches the ball well, and we've got to get him into areas more where he's actually having shots as opposed to just, you know, coming in and needing to head it. But I thought he did okay, and I know people sort of look at him and think he's a bit awkward sometimes, but you know, he's creating a bit of a name for himself because he's a big lad and he can put himself about a little bit. He's brave, and we need to get behind him when he plays because he has got things. And you know, I wouldn't be playing somebody at this level if I didn't think that it would benefit all of us, and it needs to benefit us quickly. We know that. but I think it will.
Is he adjusting to the? I think he is actually to the Championship.
Yeah.
So it must be like a cat caught in headlights kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, of course, because the people you're up against are internationals. Do you know what I mean? Some of them are internationals. Crazy place. And you have to adjust to the better player because they read things better, they mark you better. You know, there's all sorts of things that you have to be better at. The levels you go up. Now, he hasn't had that one level, next level, next level. He's gone from one level straight to the top level. Do you know what I mean? And credit to him for, you know, he's had that glare and that stare and that interview that you said where I thought he hasn't quite done enough. And to be fair to him, he's coming through it, and he will be a top player. We just hope that he's a top player in time for us to stay in the Championship when he gets another season to prove himself.